Was Pat McGrath hired by Louis Vuitton to embarrass other beauty brands? Normally on Beauty History, we talk about the backgrounds and histories behind namesake brands like Louis Vuitton or Gucci or whatever. But today, I want to talk about the upcoming beauty launch, La Beauté Louis Vuitton, which has been designed and created by Pat McGrath herself. Now, if you prefer the more biography style content, please leave a comment down below. Otherwise, just sit back and relax and let's talk about Louis Vuitton and Pat McGrath. So as I stated, the very prestigious French luxury brand Louis Vuitton has hired Pat McGrath to be the creative director for their new beauty pillar of the brand. Now, Louis Vuitton is not the first luxury brand to branch out into perfume and now cosmetics and makeup. However, brands such as Prada, Gucci, Valentino have very recently joined this world. However, they have hired equally talented but lesser known makeup artists to be at the helm of the beauty world. Why do you think that is? Pat McGrath may be known to some for her namesake brand, Pat McGrath Labs. However, she has been a juggernaut in the world of beauty for a quarter of a century now. Dame Pat McGrath has been a highly influential person, not only in the beauty world, but also in the fashion world. She has dozens of accolades that I could bore you to death by listing off, but some of them include being the beauty editor-at-large for Vogue UK, and being listed in the Time magazine's 100 Most Influential People of 2019. For some people, Pat McGrath working with Louis Vuitton may seem to come out of the blue, out of nowhere really. However, that would be incorrect. McGrath has a very long history of collaborating with dozens of high-end luxury designers and fashion houses. She has worked and collaborated with countless brands over the years. McGrath habitually conceptualizes beauty looks for runways, for haute couture and ready-to-wear as well. She's worked with Louis Vuitton, Versace, Gucci, Prada, Margiela, John Galliano, the list goes on, as well as Givenchy and McQueen, but honestly, there are dozens more of brands. If you can think of a luxury haute couture brand out there, McGrath has probably designed the makeup for the runway looks. And interesting to note is, oftentimes when McGrath does the beauty concept for the runway, the makeup itself stands out just as much, if not more so, than the clothing on the runway. The most recent version of this that I can think of off the top of my head is for Maison Margiela, and this was for the Spring/Summer 2024 collection. This exploded all over social media. The models walked down the runway with these doll-like porcelain skin, thin eyebrow, theatrical makeup looks that were inspired by 1930s Parisian life come to life in 2024. The pencil thin brows, the wash of light blue eyeshadow, and that porcelain skin helped the models look like dolls come to life. McGrath wanted it to look like a painting. Like if you saw a painting of 1930s Parisian life with a doll aesthetic, it looked as if the dolls came off the page and onto the runway. The models did not look like mere mortals. They looked like living dolls, and that was the makeup. That was the goal. The porcelain-like skin paired with the wash of blue eyeshadow was there specifically to make it look as though the dolls came to life and decided to go for a stroll on the Seine at night. And so it was as if the water from the Seine was reflecting this moonlight glow on their skin. McGrath has a long-standing reputation of collaborating with fashion houses and brands and designers, and she will often add a historical element, sometimes a futuristic element, sometimes there will be a cinematic touch. one thing is clear is that her beauty looks on the runway always push the envelope, push boundaries. One thing that I examined when looking at these runway looks is that McGrath seems to revisit certain concepts over the years and over the decades. For example, the pencil-thin doll brows that we saw for Maison Margiela in 2024, I saw as well in the past. For the John Galliano Spring 2011, as well as the Galliano Fall-Winter 2007 runway looks, those themes of a doll come to life were there. However, they were sort of bubbling under the surface. They were not quite as present as the most recent version, but it just goes to show that she seems to ruminate over certain concepts and lets them develop over the years and goes back to them and plays with them over and over again. The exact same thing can be said for the crystal lip look. Now, for some folks, the crystal lip look might be something that you think of as totally new and is unique only to Pat McGrath Labs. It's actually unique to McGrath, and it's a concept that she has been noodling with over the years. She does or did sell those crystal lip kits on her website, which is where most people know about it. However, she actually introduced this look on the runway in the 90s. This was for, I believe, Galliano or Christian Dior, or maybe it was Galliano for Christian Dior in the 90s, and then she revisited this look in the early 2010s, and then with the launch of Pat McGrath Labs, this is where she sold the kits themselves. So what does this all mean for Louis Vuitton and La Beauté Louis Vuitton? I'm trying to remain diplomatic because other luxury beauty brands have artistic directors and they are very talented. It's a lot of hard work and creativity. However, Pat McGrath is not just some makeup artist. She is above many other people, and I'm saying this as respectfully as I possibly can. There's a reason why she has so many accolades and so many titles, and there's a reason why her makeup brand has been so successful. In my opinion, I think that Louis Vuitton has hired her specifically because they are ready to take everyone's lunch money. They are leaving nothing to chance. They hired her specifically because some of the looks that McGrath creates for the runway transcend beauty and fashion and make a cultural impact in pop culture. That is not an easy feat. It is not easy to create something that transcends your domain of work and pierces through into another. That is really difficult to do. I, for one, have very high expectations, and I should. Louis Vuitton has been around since 1854. This is a highly prestigious luxury brand. To some, this is one of the top handful of luxury brands on the market, and to many, this is considered to be one of the most sought after and valuable brands on the market today. So with all of that prestige, all of that history, all of that luxury, this makeup launch had better be spectacular. Since we know that McGrath often ruminates over concepts and beauty looks and then revisits them, I, for one, am excited. I'm just excited to see what creativity McGrath will bring to the luxury world that is different than Pat McGrath Labs. I hope that the new Louis Vuitton beauty launch includes bold color, bold looks, dramatic makeup. I am sometimes a little bit over the no makeup look. I want to see eyeshadow. I want to see visible makeup. And I think Pat McGrath is the person who can do this today. Of course, the runway looks are often way more dramatic than would be in normal life. So I'm certain that whatever she has done for Louis Vuitton runways in the past, perhaps, maybe, I'm not sure, but perhaps it's a vision of what's to come for the everyday consumer market. I'm excited. I have very high standards, very high expectations. I'm certain it will be at a very luxury price point, but I'm excited. It's nice to see something new and something creative. And I hope we can see a clear distinction from Pat McGrath Labs and Louis Vuitton beauty. I hope it's two completely separate things. And I think, of all people, Pat McGrath can pull this off. Now, your homework for beauty history today is to like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know what you think of this Pat McGrath and Louis Vuitton beauty collaboration. I am very excited, and I'm hopeful. I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I think this could be great. I have been a huge fan of Prada Beauty, even though I don't know the name of the creative director. Whoever this person is has done a great job. I just think it is possible for prestigious houses to come into the beauty world and do a great job. So we should have some high standards. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you next time. Bye.